This week on the OneCast, we are once again joined by National Professional Fishing League angler Dylan Freeze. We're going to go through part 2 of his journey to the NPFL.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's going to be a bad day.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the OneCast. We got a great episode. This is part 2. If you're listening to last week's, we had Dylan Freeze on, who's a National Professional Fishing League pro. We're going to bring him on again. But before we do, because he's got a lot more of a story to tell us, his journey to the NPFL. But before we do that, we want to give a shout out to those who support us the most. And that would be OneCast Fishing. Head on over to OneCastFishing.com. Use the code TheOneCast, all one word, at checkout. Get your hands on those snagless jigs, the weedless nets, soft plastics, and all the merch and stuff like that. And support Ben over there at OneCast Fishing. We're getting ready to rock some of those bad boy Nighthawks here at this national championship that Pete and I have with the Fishers and Men. So hopefully we can bring you some great content. Get your hands on those Nighthawks, man. He's got 2 new colors. And after that, head on over to CarolinaWatersNC.com. Use the code TheOneCast. Get your hands on those hats, those buffs, those gloves, all the shirts that they have. I'm rocking one right now. It's been sunny and 75 out here, so make sure you stay protected from those UV rays and look cool on the water. What else do we need to go?
Yeah, from there you can head to HobieEyewear.com. Unless you want to save some money, then use the link that is in all of our profile descriptions we posted around. That's going to save you some change on a pair of Hobie eyewears or 10. Make sure you use that link to save a couple bucks. Grab a pair of those floating frames, whatever lens color you prefer, but definitely grab a pair of Sight Masters. It is going to make you highly effective in low light situations, even bed fishing when others can't see fish. You are going to be able to see those fish. So make sure you head there, HobieEyewear.com, or if you want to save money, use the link that is in the description on all of our socials. Ben, we just repartnered.
Yeah,
we did. We just repartnered with Deep Dive. We absolutely love their app, and we encourage you all. In fact, we're telling you all to go on your phone.
that's an order.
Yeah, exactly. That's an order.
That's an order.
A lawful order, too. So make sure you go on your phones, download the Deep Dive app, take advantage of the free trial, but then go ahead and up with a subscription. I've actually got it pulled up on my phone right now. I'm looking at Ray Roberts Lake, where the Bassmaster Classic.
The whole thing's red with
just wrapped up. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the wind effects right now. I mean, the entire thing is danger red.
Yeah.
I guess, going up to 40 miles an hour right now. But, on there, they've got water clarity, stream flow rates. They include the current flow in and out of the lake. They've got the best areas, best baits, different patterns to potentially use. So it's a great tool as if you're a tournament angler to help plan your strategy when you go out and practice and to make adjustments. It's great if you're just going out fun fishing and you want to put more fish in the boat and you want to spend a little less time trying to find them and more time catching them.
That's right.
If you're looking for a home or land in central North Carolina, make sure you hit up our friend Terry Carpenter, licensed NC Realtor at Caldwell Banker, Howard Perry, and Walston. Terry will help you find the home of your dreams. He's a bass fisherman, a fisherman. He knows what we're looking for in a home, which means a garage to fit our boat in. And he also will, talk to your significant other and make sure that he finds what's important to them. Terry does this full time. It's his job. He's going to work hard to find the house of your dreams and treat you like family. You can get with him at carpentert@hpw.com, or you can go to our links in the social. Our link tree is linked to his and all of his contact info is there. So make sure you check out Terry. And that's it. We're working on one more. We have a potential new partner coming on here soon. So hopefully we can announce that to all of you. Super excited.
Well, I mean, hey, look, it's not easy getting partners.
It's not
in the social media podcast world, whatever you want to say. So the ones that we do have, we're very proud of. We're very proud to rock their logos on our jerseys. It's the least that we can do, with OneCast Fishing and Terry Carpenter and Hobie and all the ones that we talked about. It's not easy, man. And there's a lot of people out there gunning for the same deals that you have. And so Pete talked about it. We're working on a non-endemic, not in the fishing world at all. And somebody that we've been doing business with for over 10 years. But here's the reality. Like, the economy's tough. Money is tight, and so you got to do what you got to do. But if people have faith in you and they believe in what you stand for, maybe they'll stand behind you. So that's what we're working on right now. We're really proud to have all the partners we currently have. and hopefully we'll bring you something new here soon.
Yeah.
So do that recap, Pete. Oh, go ahead. Were you going to do something?
I was just going to say, just know that we have turned down several money-making opportunities because it's not a product we use or a product we trust. And it's probably something we would never use. So if we are advertising for them, it's something that we personally use and we believe in. We're not just here. This isn't a moneymaker for any of us, and probably never will be. If it is some, maybe we'll be maybe we'll be the Joe Rogan of fishing someday, but that's probably not likely. So just check out our partners if you can and support them, because they're sticking their necks out there to help us continue to do this for all of you. So Dylan, if you listened to last week's episode, then you're up to speed a little bit. If you didn't, go back and listen to that before you listen to this one. You'll get to hear about Dylan's journey into bass fishing, his fall out of bass fishing, rock bottom, and then the fight back and back into it now. And we're going to bring him on here in a second. We're going to talk about the National Professional Fishing, the National Professional Fishing League. Don't even edit that out, Barry. I just had a seizure. I think
that was pretty awesome.
The National Professional Fishing League, his journey there to the league. We talked briefly about how he kind of found them. We'll probably have him tell that again, run through his rookie season and talk about this year and his thoughts on the league, because he fished the opens. He's fished some other tournament trails, so he's got some experience with some of the bigger. I shouldn't say bigger. Some of the other tournament series in fishing. I think it's hard to not put the league up there with BASS and MLF. If you look at the people, the quality of anglers fishing it, the payouts, all of that, they're kind of right there on par. So we're gonna go ahead and bring Dylan on, unless you two have anything else that you want to talk about real quick. No, we're good.
No, but have you noticed I'm getting that good sunglass tan?
I have going on. Yeah, I mean, you don't work, so. I
mean, I don't work anymore, so I got that Hobie sunglass tan on. But hey, enough of that. Dylan Freeze, everyone, back on for part 2.
You're not gonna be able to see him for a second because I can. There we go. What's going on, man?
What's up?
What up? You guys good?
Welcome. Yeah, we're all good to go.
We're good. I had a little mini stroke there for a second, but we got her back down.
Yeah. Don't edit that out.
Speaking of guns over here.
He's not
as many times as we've said the National Professional Fishing League, you think it would just roll off the tongue. But when you're rolling and trying to say it, it is kind of a tongue twister.
It is not an easy thing to say, right?
No.
The National Professional Fishing League. I feel like Brad and all of them did it on purpose.
For memos like that.
Because if you go to NPFL.com, it's the Nigerian Professional Football League. So you got to go to the.
Yeah. And each one of the socials is a little different. Some are NPFL,
I feel like Brad, you're just messing with us, bro. But anyways, Dylan, man, we're glad to have you back on. We told all the listeners before we brought you on to go back and listen to last week's episode if they didn't. And so now we want to talk about your journey. And Pete said it at the beginning, how you learned about the NPFL, and then let's go from there.
Yeah. So to go back, I don't think Brad messes with anybody though. We're gonna check that.
Don't be scared of Brad.
No, I ain't scared, but homeboy don't play around.
Do we need to put a disclaimer in there that those are solely our opinions and
not reflect
Dylan's opinions?
No, I love Brad, dude. He's hard to get. You can't really bother him, and if you do, you done went too far, So
yeah, for sure. Yep.
But no, yeah. So, what do you say? Getting into the league? Is that where we're at?
Yeah. How'd you hear about it?
Yeah. How'd you find out, and how'd you go about joining the National Professional Fishing League? See, it's not that hard, Pete.
Yeah. So I just tell all my buddies. I just call it the league. It's just easier. Just the league. It rolls easier. So I think I touched about it in the last one. Or maybe we just talked about it behind the camera. So when I got back into everything, and I was like, I'm not gonna, I can't do this piddle paddle shit around home anymore. I don't like doing it. So my buddy Randy Kukrow, who fished the league, I don't know if it was the inaugural. Yeah, what is this, year 5 or 4? 5?
Year 5.
Yeah. So Randy, I think, fished the first year.
A year or 2, I think he fished twice.
He fished the first 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had followed him, on Facebook and stuff. And like I said, I was so out of touch with everybody and everything at that point that I didn't really reach out to him at the time. And then, so I always kind of knew that it was something new, but I never really dug into it. And because it was kind of like, I'm not going to lie, back, I never, when I was fishing and even while I was out of it, like bass was it. Like even, and that sounds crazy. Like, dude, when I was even fishing the opens and growing up, I didn't even look at FLW. And I know that sounds crazy, but I just wasn't an FLW guy. I wasn't I didn't follow it. I wasn't around people that fished it. Like
same. I was.
And I'm never going to be, I would never shoot any of them guys down. Cause there's so many amazing fishermen they're just good, but like, I just didn't watch it. So, but when I saw NPFL, I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I was like, what's this? Like a pay to play thing? Cool. Like this is something I could do one day. Cause and I just kind of, it wasn't a thought. It was kind of just like in my head, like, yeah, right. If you ever want to get back into it, so I, like I said, when I got back into fishing and doing everything again, I was at the first federation. We had federation in Ohio that year, the Bass Nation, not federation. I always call it federation. But the Bass Nation was like a March tournament. It was real shitty weather. And saw Randy, and I hadn't seen Randy in a decade, 10 years probably. Last time I saw him, we were fishing in an open in Florida. I went up to him. I gave him a big hug. I said, hey, man, I'm proud of everything, because Randy's doing excellent in the workplace, man. And told him, I was proud of everything he's done. We come from being kids, man. Last time I seen him, we were in our late teens and early 20s. And but I always knew I had followed that. And so after that year was over, and I'm like, I got to do something. I said, he was the first guy I reached out to. And I said, hey, what do you think about the league? Are you going to fish it again? Because I don't know. And then he sent me a text. I think, I don't quote me on it. Something about, if you do, I do. Well, hey, bro. Anybody knows me, man.
You with a good time.
Hey, in any fashion of life, you tempt me with something, I'm gonna do it. Regardless of if I could be holding on by a thread. I'm gonna try it. So I was like, you know what? Sitting home one night, and I'm like, here come the ad popped up. Now accepting applications. You know what? They weren't even yet. I take that back. It was middle of the season. It was like June or July. F it. I'm gonna fill it out. And I filled it out, and I, on my phone, and time went by, and I didn't think about nothing. I text Randy as soon as I got done. I said, hey, sent my application in. And he's like, are you serious? I said, yeah. He's like, well, shit. All right. I was like, don't let me down, bro. But in all honesty, I didn't think I was going to get an opportunity at the time. Sorry, I got to clean that off. It's a little foggy. But so, yeah, I don't know. This was, like I said, June or July when I did that.
But hey, hold on a minute. You said, don't let me down. Who are you saying? Did Randy tell you?
Because he's like, if you do it, I'll do it. I'll fish again.
Okay.
And because I think he was coming off of an off year, or that was the year prior.
Yeah.
He had stepped away.
And this was back in 2023, right? June 2023.
2022, right?
No, it was 23. It was 23. No,
oh yeah, because your first season was 24/6.
Yeah. So, and time kind of went on, and obviously Randy got married and has a family now, and he's running a really big company, and
shooting giant deer.
Yeah, shooting. The guy doesn't get enough credit for that.
Giant deer.
Yeah, 3
What's
in a row.
He shot 3 200-inch deer 3 years in a row.
I don't know. The one he had in front of him this year shook his antlers on the last day of season.
I saw his story.
And I'm not positive. I don't think I ever saw the score on it, but close enough, right? But
yeah.
So obviously he didn't
10-pounder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he didn't fish, and or he didn't sign up. He's like, man, I don't have. I don't think I got it in me right now. And all right, man, whatever. I haven't even gotten a response at this point. I might tell everybody right now I got in purely on the grace of God. So it's now November, 5 months later. And for some reason, I just happened to get on my email. I checked my spam folder, and I had an email from Brad and an email from Michelle. And they were addressed to a certain amount of anglers. I don't want to say too much, but I don't know if it was a waiting list or just, hey, we're going to accept some guys, but we're going to need to dig into who you are and probably make some phone calls before we let you in. Because obviously I don't have a name. I'm not Gerald Swindle or, any of these guys. So it basically said to me, they said we're accepting 17 out of 172 applications.
Wow.
And that was to fill the field, I think. And financially, I was I knew that I could afford to do it. It was more or less, I got to go have a conversation with my mother, my father, my wife, everybody that this is going to affect, right?
Yeah.
Because I have 2 children at this point. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old at this point. This is before their 5th birthday. So, and I have a business at home that is detrimental that I'm around, or at least, schedule things right when I'm gone. And so all these things went into consideration in my head. And so I told Jess, I said, hey, Jess is my fiance. I said, I was in the room and I busted out and I said, hey, just got this email. And I'm ecstatic, right? Because I'm thinking this opportunity don't come around a lot. So then it was it wasn't even an hour. I called my mom and I said, hey, I need to talk to you guys tomorrow. And she's like, okay. And I told her why. And I went over there, and me and my dad, like I said, you guys, if you watch the first podcast, are we a little rocky sometimes. And so communication is sometimes tough. And so I get there and I'm like, hey, look, my mom already knew the deal when I said, I'm not asking for anything right now. I need to know what you guys think. And my dad looked at me and was like, pardon my French, because you fucking crazy? Why would you turn it down? And I'm like, that's all I needed. That was it.
Yep.
I said, okay. So at this point now it's November and I got 5 weeks to come up with $6,000 for a deposit.
Yeah.
And at the time I'm like, winter, I pour concrete for a living. So,
winter's not great.
From now to November, I might have $100,000 in the bank. But dude, come December, bro, that shit goes quick. So, bills pile up and work slows down. So, I'm like, hey, we're gonna figure this out. And my mom's like, do what you got to do. Send the email back and tell them you're in. Well, I think I sent Brad an email and I said, I'm like, oh my God. Cause it was they didn't even give us 48 hours to respond. They're like, we got to have your money here. And this is when the cutoff line is. And cause I had opened the email late from when I had received it. I don't even know when I got it at that point. I'm just going 100 mile an hour. And I'm like, all right. So I didn't even talk to Brad, didn't talk to Michelle personally at the time. Dude, I just went, there's my $6,000. Take it. And it cleared. And I'm like, I guess I'm in, and then I should back up. So in that window, in that day window where I talked to my family, I talked to my best friend, Nick, and I said, man, I don't know if I'm there again yet. I don't want to turn this down, but and I was like, it's just really fast again. And, he said, dude, you can worry about that when you get there. He's like, if you're not killing yourself financially and you can figure it out, he goes, I know you're a good fisherman. He goes, you just You worry about it when you get there, and
Yep.
and he told me, he said, I'll never forget it. He's like, it ain't what if I suck, or what if I get my ass kicked, or what if I don't perform. It's the what if you don't join, or what if you're always wondering what if, or what if,
Yep.
just you may never get this chance again, is what he told me. And in retrospect now, he was 100% right. So then I called Bill Owen and I said, Bill, I'm going to fish the NPFL. What do you think? And he's like, what do you mean? What do I think? He goes, you'd be an idiot not to fish it. Let Bill Owen. And I was like, all right, well, I'm like, everybody's on board. My wife just like kind of shrugged her shoulders at the time. She's like, do it, makes you happy, And so we went with it. And then our first tournament was at Logan Martin and at the last week of February. So I got 2 months to I don't have sponsors. I got to figure out a lot. Right. And we rolled right into it, man. And it was a tense 2 months. It was a lot. It was stressful. There was a lot going on.
I mean, you got to worry about all the logistics, like you said, sponsors. Had you done, with the few tournaments you've done around there, had you done any multi-day practice, multi-day tournaments? And obviously you fished the Opens a decade prior to this, but it's obviously a different game going from maybe a local 1 or 2 day tournament to a multi-day managing fish type of deal.
You're right. But that's one of them things. I think fishing the Opens and just it was in me. I hated fishing at home. I've always hated fishing 1 day derbies. I like being in it for something. I like making it something. I can go fish anywhere in the country on a Saturday for a $1,500 jackpot. To me, the point of fishing at this level is everything that comes with it. And that's something that doesn't leave you. I don't think I remember and I think fishing those couple co-anglers in the Elite Series back in the day before they got rid of them, fishing a couple years as the Opens as a co-anglers and always practicing with guys, and then fishing the Opens for those 2 years, it always stays with you. So immediately, when I got there, that's what when I say I couldn't handle fishing around home anymore. That's why, because it was just it didn't do anything for me. I'm I don't want to fish around here. I didn't. It just didn't.
You wanted a challenge. You wanted a bigger challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm getting it. Obviously, look at my stats.
Well, you can't put yourself in contention if you're not there.
Not there, right?
You know what I mean?
That's the thing, dude. I'm and like I said, live scope was so new to me when I came back. I'm what the fuck is this? I don't. So I get it. I get it. And I'm very green with it when we go to Logan, and I'm having wiring issues, and it's just it's a mess. And believe it or not, my first, go ahead.
I was going to say that actually had to be crazy. That's what's the thing? The sleepy guy falls asleep for 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you went to sleep in the bass fishing world for a decade. Dude. And I mean, you went from, side scammers just getting big to now you got live forward facing sonar out there.
I never used side scan before I came back last year.
What?
When I fished the Opens,
I haven't been around that long.
When I fished the Opens, I had an X. I don't know what it's called, and don't quote me on this, but I think it was an X83 graph mount, in dash mount on that I class I had from Bill or something. It was a 6 or an 8 inch graph, dude. And I got real good with 2D back in the day. I didn't even have side image in fishing. I just knew, okay, go find shoals and drag them at Erie and shit like that, and do the same thing everywhere. I learned how to fish with I'm very impatient, but I learned how to fish with patience based on that. Like, and that's where I think like a lot of guys now, they'd go out to Lake Erie and spin out in 5 minutes because they don't have live scope. They'd lose their freaking mind, you know? And it's like, I know that I can go drift a high spot or a point or a shoal with a tube or I do something. I'm sure a lot of people would do it. Like drop shotting to me, I've never been a vertical drop shot guy. I'm a cast and drag drop shot guy.
Oh, that's I
drift with drop shot a lot. And I mean, I've caught some of the best bags of my life doing that. And so like everybody was back on a tube at Lake Erie. I was doing it with a drop shot, and drop shotting was just really getting big at that point. But so
you still mash on a tube on Lake Erie.
Yeah, and like, see, now it's like you go talk to somebody about dragging a tube, throwing a tube at Erie. They're like, "Yeah, have fun catching drum all day," and they're right. But then you'll catch like 7 pounders.
Well, you're in the Western Basin too, though.
Yeah, but
might be a little different.
So yeah, it was a lot at once. And but you know what's crazy is when I went in, Logan Martin was my best finish last year. It was the first event I fished. Then I finished like 41st or second. I don't remember. Barely missed a check. But that was also really reassuring to me. Because I went out there, I had a God-forsaken horrible practice. I broke my ankle, fished the entire time. Yeah. So the last day of practice, I got it. If you go to I think it's on my Instagram and my Facebook. Last day of practice, we had like ridiculous fog. So I put in and I idle out, and you can't even you can't even see your hand in front of your face. So I'm using my graph, and I'm like, I'm going to start scoping, just throw a minnow around out here. And I fished for a little while, and I stepped on my trolling motor. Like my trolling motor had like my bolts were really tight. So I had to step on my ghost to release the cable and all the dew and stuff from the fog. So my right foot is against basically the gunnel on the left side of the trolling motor, and my left foot is on top of the trolling motor. And I step on the trolling motor, go to pull the rope, and my left foot goes straight out, and all my body weight just went straight down, and my right foot had nowhere to go, so it went gunnel, snap. I shouldn't say I broke it, bro, but I felt like I broke it. And that sunbuck was that big. An hour later, I waddled in. I hobbled into freaking Target to get an ankle brace like that afternoon.
Yeah. Fishing is a context.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I about killed Trey last year with a trolling motor.
So the video, I had it on camera. I'm laying on the boat and just going screaming, and
I'm just watching this in my head.
I'm gonna go watch the video later.
Go watch the video.
If that broke his ankle, I'd have killed you last year. I'd have broke every bone in your body.
100,000%. Yeah.
Ike and Elliot about did more than that to you, bro.
Yeah, for sure. He about ended your whole family tree.
You ain't lying, dude. Yeah. I forgot about that. Thanks for bringing it back up. No, just kidding.
Okay. He'll never forget about that, by the way.
So practice was horrible, but I knew what them fish were doing, and I just, I had a real rough first day, but then the end of the day, I kind of found a little loading zone of them. Like they were just staged in the spot, and they were all 13, 14 inchers, but I caught 20 in the last hour of the first day. And so I went there the second day, and I busted a limit in an hour, which was I hadn't seen in practice. And you know what? I got 8 pounds. There wasn't a lot of guys really cracking them. There was a few guys had good bags, but that place isn't really a big fish place. And I'm if I can go catch a couple 2.5 to 3s, I'm gonna jump. I was on 71st or something after the first day, and I ran down to this bluff bank, and that's a thing in the winter, channel swing bluff, and started cranking, and dude, in 10 minutes I had called up 7 pounds.
Did you really?
Yeah. And I was like, dude, these fish I had hit that bank 15 times in practice, different times a day. Cause we had just gotten to Logan, and it was the lake had frozen over, and then it flooded. So it was just a mud hole when we got there.
Oh yeah. That one was a train wreck.
Everybody was just fishing creeks. And that time of year, I knew how it was going to be won. And if you go back and you watch Will Harkins win, he was fishing a channel swing that went right up against a seawall with a bunch of brush on it. Like, channel swings are the deal that time of year, and especially with the big spots. And I buzzed down that, I caught him, and I'm like losing my shit because I'm like, damn, dude, like you just had a good day. You're like putting pieces together after a whole practice, like, and this is your first event back at this stage in over a decade. I'm like, well, at least you're going. I was super happy, right? And my wife, Jess, I should just call her my wife. She was there, and so I'm really happy, and I'm like, I'm talking to everybody, and I really don't know anyone at this point. Like, I met Louis in practice, and Luis Fernandez, and that was it. And he's like, bro, just go bust 10 pounds tomorrow and go get a check. So I go, and I'm like, you know what? He's right. So I went down, dude, and I hammered that. This is where I messed up. I went to that area, and I fished it all day, and it was like just one stretch back and forth and back and forth. And I caught like a 4-pound largemouth off of a tree that I'd caught, and a 3-pounder off of the day before, and like a 2-pounder the first day. And I struggled to catch 5, and then I dump a freaking like a 3.5 on a Fritz side, trying to boat flip it like an idiot the last like hour of the tournament. Like, what are you doing, boat? Me. Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? Just keep running this bank. Go fish where you haven't, dude. It's literally the last cast, heroics. I catch a 2-pounder. I'm like, I got 11 pounds. I'm in a check. Like, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the moment that evening I realized I always thought that, if you do better than what you expect to take to win, like cash check or to get where you need to be, you'd always get it, right? Well, I come in with 11 something. I'm like, dude, 9.5 was probably going to do good. Now, everybody that didn't catch them the first 2 days, Drew Cook, Matt Mollahan, guys who like had 6 pounds going into the day 3, go out and dump 22, 24, 18. I'm like, hey, welcome to the big leagues, bro. Like, what the hell? And like I said, I think I missed the cut by a pound. And
wow.
But I was like, you know what? I looked at her and I was like, I can do this. Like, first one back, like first big event in a decade, like against these guys, and I miss it by a pound. I'm like, I'm all right. Well, then little did I know, shit's about to just, after that, it just kind of, life hit, the reality of where I was at started. And then you're never, there's no such thing as being comfortable in this sport. You can't get comfortable because someone's always going to kick you in the ass. You're never safe, and that's the thing with the NPFL is, there's a lot of times this year I've wished that half the field didn't fish on Saturday. Because I know what these guys are going to do. And
that's a big difference maker when everybody makes that final day cut, because to your point at that first one, those guys only cut 6 pounds the first 2 days, and then they go out and drop a 20 bag, and they can bump you out of that check line pretty quick if you go out there and just kind of maintain what you've been doing. So as somebody that watches it, it's exciting because you can make a move. But if I was somebody fishing it,
I'd be like,
I was floating on that check line, I don't want you there. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And that's where the experience thing comes into it, because it was getting warmer that tournament. And like, I knew some of these guys that were real shallow water guys were going to show up, and that last day they were checking areas every day, and every day they were getting further along. And it was just like, they just needed that
timing deal.
I think where Drew Cook crashed them the last day, I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he caught him on a swim jig, and there wasn't a fish in sight within a mile of there for the previous 6 days. Yeah. But then, boom, there they are, 20 pounds worth. I'm like, then that's experience. That's just knowing what's going on in the lake when you're there, and not getting bent out of shape or getting sidetracked, and just buckling down and staying with it.
Mm-hmm.
What were the struggles you faced mostly the rest of the year? Were you in your own head, or was it just trying to get back into fishing those big multi-day tournaments?
Well, the next two I fished my own way, and they just didn't. They didn't go. Things just just didn't fish. Pickwick, I fished. Or I guess Hartwell was the next one, and Hartwell, I dedicated myself to 3 hours out of 3 days to be able to win that tournament, because I knew that, and people are going to watch this and be like, "You're so stupid," but like, I had bites in practice and in the tournament every morning, the first 45 minutes, to where I could have blown, even looking at the weights now, I could have won that tournament by 8 pounds. And I didn't see any other person doing it. And that's an experience thing. They knew that herring spawn was like dying down, and the window to catch them doing it, like they had just done it Murray. Like they weren't coming up in the afternoon and just crashing and
yeah,
like,
it wasn't an all day thing. You had that short window in the morning, and then
but man, I tell you what, there weren't spots. They were all largemouth, and they were big. Like, and my last day of practice, dude, I pulled up on a random one and I caught like 23 pounds in like 8 casts. Like I was shaking. I'm like, dude, if these some bitches are here in the tournament, I'm gonna smash.
Yeah.
And the first day of the tournament, I'm not joking you. It was like a 40-second run. And I just watched boats. I was like boat like 40 something. Nobody went over there. I roll up, first cast. I dump like a 3.5, 4-pounder at the boat. I was jerking for them. Like I had to get my jerk bait in that much water, and they would just choke it. And they wouldn't come up and eat something on top. Like I had to throw like I was throwing a Maverick Rapala jerk bait, and they would smash it. And like at first cast, I like jerked it one time and it just loaded up. And I'm like, well, we're here. So I dumped that fish and didn't check my hooks. I had like 2 bent hooks. Somehow, I don't know what the hell happened. Lost another one at the boat. Didn't check my line. The next one, I have like a 4.5, and I go to boat flip it because he had it engulfed in his throat. And I boat flip him, and I get him like waist level, and the line breaks because I'm throwing that thing in 3 inches of water. Like, so I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So at this point, I've dumped like 11, 12 pounds of fish in like 4 or 5 casts. And I mean, this is how small the window was. Like I pulled out, I took like 6 feet off my line and put another one on. And because I had a deeper one on my other jerkbait rod that I would like, when the sun got up, I would pull off and jerking like 6 to 12 foot with. And I throw it on, and then like I tie it on, and I catch like 2 2-pounders. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, and so at that point, I'm like doing the math in my head. I'm like, I think I had 3 in the box at this point for like 7 pounds. And I'm like, you dumped 2 4+ and like a 3+, and you've got 7 pounds, you have 5.5 and the 2 best in there. I'm like, dude, you'd have had 15, 16 pounds. Well, I think 15 was leading it that day. And I weighed in I had like 11 or 12, I think is what I ended up weighing in. So I was like really excited to go out the next day. Well, the next day I was boat like 115. Well, guess what? That hour is gone when I got there. I didn't have a sniff. So then I think I had like 3. I went drop shot and did that. I fell in the lake the first day on camera. That was like a headline.
I remember that now.
Yeah, I remember that now too.
Yeah.
I just drop shot, and like I gotta stop boat flipping fish. Like I will, like I'll smash one that'll choke a jig, and I'll go down and lip him, but then I'll try and boat flip a crankbait fish or a drop shot fish. I don't know what
I give Trey heart attacks in every
every time.
every tournament.
just my
I'll
decision.
boat flip.
Just wear the fish out, sit in the seat.
I say that's coming straight. Get out of the way. She's coming over the rail, boy.
Just so many mistakes were made.
You guys can use nets.
Yeah.
Just use the
Just get out of the way. She's coming in.
Dylan can't use a net on the NPFL unless there's like special tournaments up north. They allow them, right? Like maybe once or something. But anyways, keep going.
Yeah.
I will never try to talk you out of boat flipping fish. That's all I'm saying. Don't look for me for that advice.
So I'm like, now I'm in like, I don't even know. I'm in like the 80s because I'm only weighing like 3 fish. But I know like that I can, if I get, but that's what screwed you is like, that's the only thing that sucks about that field. And we don't really launch really fast. It's rather nonchalant. You know, I don't want to fraternize the league at all, but it's a little slow. So I'm like, man, and I'm just watching boats. I'm like, fuck, like this is taking so long. I'm sorry, I keep cussing. That's just one of them days.
You're good, dude.
So I'm like, my bite's done. Like and then that's when I realized, man, you really messed up your practice. Like you focused too much on one thing that where I knew it was it. So like once I figured that bite out the first day, I ran 3,000 points to find fish. So I'm like, anywhere I go or wherever I'm at, if someone's here, and then I realized no one's chasing this bite because they're not dumb. They're not like, you know, it just, so day 3 comes and in practice I had, I'm not going to name drop. I'm not going to do that. In practice, I had discussed with a guy what I was doing if he needed a backup. And then he saw me where I was on practice because I told him I'm going to go check some fish. And he saw me. Well, he was there when I got there on the last day of the tournament. And I watched him he smashed him, bro. And this is going to lead into a big thing I want to talk about tonight before we get done. That I know.
Hey, bro, this is your show. You can talk about whatever you want, whenever you want.
But so sitting there watching a guy who you consider trustworthy, I think he caught like 3 or 4 in front of me. He had already caught one. He caught like a 4. And he didn't even fish in practice. He just knew that there was fish there in the morning on that bite. And he was like, he had like a couple pounds the first day, ended up salvaging his season. He didn't make a check there, but it was his only bad tournament. I think he still finished like 40th because he had like 17 pounds the last day. Really taught me a lesson. I guess it was probably one I needed to learn. But so whatever, good for him. I took it on the chin because
what a blessing.
Yeah. So I took it on the chin because I ain't about to, ruin my reputation out of ill will or bad intentions from somebody else. So I let it go and rolled out. And then, we, that was rough. That was because that was my first like taste of really getting my butt kicked by those guys. I finished like 100 and something. But you
learned a lot of valuable lessons though out of that one, right? Like you learned not to spend your entire practice on one pattern, right?
100%. And the biggest thing I learned is don't trust anyone ever.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't even trust Trey.
You shouldn't.
But here's my problem, and I hate saying that because I want everyone in the world to trust me. But I'm also a very open book, and that gets me, again, burns me a lot. Because I'm the type of guy to where I've known and I've been around and seen, I don't care how you're catching them. How you're catching them is one thing. But at this level, if you don't think that everyone has figured out 90% of how – the only guy there's one person in that 120 guy field I feel that is doing something different. That's the guy that wins.
Yeah.
So in a field of this
John Cox.
John Cox is doing something different too.
yeah. Well,
Two guys.
He's not doing something different. You know exactly what the hell he's doing.
Well, you know what he's doing, but there may not be anybody else doing it.
Yeah. So what I mean by that is like people get bent out of shape about, hey man, you this guy saw me doing this, or you told this guy this. I'm like, did I tell him where you were at? You don't think these people were going to do that anyway? You don't?
Yeah,
think
it's like you said. If you figured it out, somebody else, at least one of the other 100+ guys and gals fishing have figured that out. You are not unique for the most part.
And let me explain something to you. If they're eating that in one place, they're eating it somewhere else. The difference is, they don't know. Just because I told so and so, if somebody goes, "Hey man, are you catching them on this?" and I'm like, "No, but I know somebody else is." I didn't say where, what you're doing it on. Like, if you don't think that 70 guys in that field got the same damn bait tied on, you shouldn't be there, because guess what? Everyone knows everything at this level. The guy that doesn't is right here talking to you. You know, based on my Santee Cooper finish, and that, it's just, I think there's a lot of trial and error at this level, and that a lot of people don't talk about. That you're not just going to jump in and kick everybody's butt with, especially now. Live scope, you could if you were good with it. But now it's gotten a lot stiffer when it comes to patterns and fishing the seasons right, and experience on these lakes, and knowing where you're at, and knowing what these fish do and how they move based on certain things. Like, that's something you can't just
and that's to your point. Like, live scope can help cut down some of the learning curve for forward facing sonar. I'm just saying live scope is easier. Whatever. But yeah, so forward facing sonar that can cut down some of the learning curve. But I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, you hear a lot of the older guys talk about how experience doesn't matter anymore, but experience 1,000% matters, because what we just saw at Santee, even if y'all still use live scope in the league, it wasn't going to help figure out what was figured out. Experience told him where those fish were, like Christie went there because he knew, I can go here, I can find dirty, colder water, my fish aren't going to leave, and I can catch them every day. And you don't know that because of live scope.
No, and the only thing I think live scope would have helped at Santee is those guys that sat on them grass and sections of grass, they would have either caught them faster or relocated and still caught them somewhere else, because they could target them, individually. But, that's honestly, who wants to watch that?
Forward facing doesn't teach you. But forward facing doesn't teach you to find the colder water, because your fish aren't going to be impacted by the cold front that's coming through, because the water's already colder, so they're going to stay where they are.
And I thought that going into that tournament, because that's what I fished farther north in that tournament than anyone in that tournament, probably by miles. And
you was up there.
Yeah, and
videos.
And so like the thing what sucks is there is like that first day, and it was I've had 3 tournaments that I've done really bad in, to where I felt like I was on fish to win, or do really well, and every time I've either not produced on bites that I not. What's the word I'm looking for? Capitalize on bites, or dumped them, or made a dumb decision, or they just completely disappeared and I just didn't figure out where they went. And I'm going to turn my light on. I just realized how dark it's getting in this room.
You're good,
brother. So I guess if we're going to go back to, what was the next one? Are we going to go through the whole year?
We don't have to. No, I mean, we talked.
Summarize it.
We talked your rookie year. You learned a lot of valuable lessons. Clearly, you learned the right way to practice. For Trey and I talk about it all the time. We have buddies that practice one way, and if that isn't the way they practice come tournament day, they're SOL and they're running around with like chickens with their heads cut off. Where we practice, where we want to have 2 or 3 patterns that we can fall back on, and if the fish move, we have an idea of where they might move to, and it's just a different approach. And there's only one way to learn that. Right. You go out there and find fish, and then when they're not there, you get your teeth kicked in. Like, you're like, well, I screwed that up. So I think that's a valuable lesson.
That's what just happened at Santee. So like, I was fishing an area really far away.
Can I stop you before we talk about 2024 or 2025?
Yeah.
I did want to go back your 2024 season. What did those conversations look like with you and your fiance or your wife, as you call her, your mom, your dad, things like that? Like what was some of the feedback that you got from them or some of the conversations you guys had?
So the initial one, after the first event, it was really positive. I mean, there was really no negativity from them at all, and still isn't. The first one was a lot of cheering, a lot of excitement because regardless of I didn't bring home $7,000, but I was right there, and so it was like, hey, you held your own, you did good, and then Hartwell was like, hey, you got your teeth kicked in, like here's reality, But the conversations, and this is something I need to work on as if I'm going to fish this level and just in general is I get down on myself a lot more than other people get down on me. Because I always bring myself back to wanting to do what I set out to do, to produce what I say I'm going to produce, to make people proud, all that stuff kind of factors into how I, react to my own, result, I guess. And that's always hard. That's the hardest part about it is you leave an event and you call somebody. I guess here's I'm just going to put it out there. Here's what sucks the most to me. And I'm sure a lot of guys are going to watch this, or hopefully they do, and they feel the same way. Everybody wants to praise you when you did good. Mm-hmm. No one says shit when you do bad, bro. Mm-hmm. And that's the time you need the words and the encouragement the most.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that really sucks. I text people and I have to reach out to get them to bring up what happened, at an event. That really bugs me sometimes because I'm like, bro, I know you watched.
Yeah.
You encouraged me all practice. Hey, hope you're doing good. Hey, man, go get them. Day 1 and day 2. Hey, solid day 1. But then guess what? Day 3 comes and you finish 90th or 100th. Mm-hmm. Cricket. And it's like, what the hell's the difference? What's the difference to somebody supporting you on how you do? The support factor shouldn't change. And that is aggravating. And I don't get that from my family, but a lot of the people like at home and just people like that do tend to follow me. I get it. Like I see it. And I get that everybody lives their own life and they're busy, but like I know you're watching. So it's like, hey man, I don't want you. And here's what I'm looking for I'm not looking for anything. I shouldn't say that. I don't want to hear, hey man, you'll get them next time. Cause like,
most people don't know how to give or take constructive criticism. Yeah. Right. So because they don't know how to do it, they just go radio silent because they don't want to hear when they have a bad tournament. They don't want to hear about it. So they don't want to tell you about it.
Let me give you exactly what I should have heard from this last tournament that Pete and I just fished. You need to focus your effort on getting comfortable being uncomfortable, which is like fish the dirtiest water you can fish. Cause I am not comfortable at fishing chocolate milk water and I should have done it. Right. Yeah. And you're saying like those who are following you or those who are your friends, like tell it like it is. Like, hey, Dylan, can't believe you did that. What the hell was going through your head? Right. Yeah. Like, I don't know why you knew 99% of the field was flipping a black and blue jig and you're throwing a white and gold chatterbait. Why are you doing that? You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. Right. So I totally get what you're saying, man. Like, hey, I want you to be with me through the best of times, but I also want you to be there. And I don't want you to kick me while I'm down, but I need you to talk to me while I'm down.
Yeah. And it's not about criticism. It's more or less like, hey dude, I do want to talk because now I got to drive 14 hours home. And this is something else like that all fishermen do. It's like every time you get in a conversation, we'll get back to that. But like, I don't want my friends and my family call me, be like, hey, you'll get them next time. I'll be like, hey, what happened? Like, get my discussion up, maybe like get my brain going. Like that's what your friends and family are for, right? So, and because here's another thing that like as fishermen, you experience it. We all do it. You guys probably do it with each other. Is when you fish against somebody and nobody does anybody good. No, if you don't do good, you don't want to call somebody that did good on your way home. You tend to look out the buddy that's in your contacts that you either got really close to finishing by or beat by a pound or two.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where, this is stuff people don't talk about. Bro, I no disrespect, but I don't need to hear how many you lost because I lost them too. Like, and I know that sounds harsh, right? But I'm a realist here. Like, I'm not, dude, we all paid $30-something thousand to fish. We all rented a house. We all left our families at home. Like, I'm trying to, cope with what the hell I just did for 6 days and where I went wrong. I don't want to hear where Joe Schmo went wrong. No disrespect. It's just, dude, I'm not, it's like,
yeah.
You know where I'm coming from. I know that might sound like I'm being a dick here, but like, it's just really hard to talk to people that you fish with, that are your peers. And because all everybody wants to do, and I'm guilty of it too, is, oh yeah, you lost a 5. I dumped a 6 on a buzzbait. Like, and it's like, where does that get anyone? Like,
yeah.
Instead of focusing on what you did wrong or trying to up your like trying to big time what happened to you in the tournament that went wrong, why don't you guys say, did you see what so-and-so was doing? Did you do that in practice? Like, try and like memory bank it for the next time instead of sitting and focusing on what you did wrong. Like, instead of all the things you could have changed, look at what you didn't do and try and put that in the bank for later. That way you have something in the back of your head to where when something's not working, you remember that. And that's where I was getting ready to say with Santee Cooper, my bite just stopped. Like, I don't know what the hell happened, and I don't know where those fish went. And I watched a couple guys' videos from North Carolina and the D team guys, and I'm like, oh, what the hell? Like, why didn't I think about that? Throw a buzzbait, you stupid ass. Like, and I'm like, oh, Zach Burge beat me by 30 pounds. He only fished 2 days, bro.
Hey, Zach Burge beat a lot of people by 30 pounds in only 2 days.
Zach Burge beat me, and I was sitting on the couch.
Yeah. Zach Burge put himself on another level in that one.
Yeah, and I'm like looking at Josh Hooks, and I'm like, how did I duh.
Everybody said the same thing about Josh Hooks.
Yeah, I'm like, man. But I'm just like, it's the one thing I didn't do that they probably would have ate. And I'm like, nope, put it in the bank. I didn't talk.
And you know what makes me mad is it doesn't even make me mad. But if you know Josh Hooks, he fishes offshore, dude. Like, he's a really, really good offshore angler. And for him to figure out a buzzbait bite, if I was sitting in your shoes, and I'm not saying you should do this, I would punch myself in the face. I'd be like, dude,
that's not what he's looking for.
Yeah, no, he needs to, right? Like, Josh Hooks figured out a freaking buzzbait bite. What the hell was I thinking? You know what I mean? Like, so I'm just, if I was there, I'd punch myself in the face. Not you shouldn't do that.
I talked to Bill Lowen the other day, earlier this week. He was he filmed Ultimate Match Fishing. He was heading to check out Eufaula, then head to the Classic for everything. And he goes, I was like, he goes, how you doing? I was like, still depressed, bro. I'm not going to lie. And he goes, which I'm not. I'm fine, dude. Like, I'm home.
You're fine.
My family. Yeah. Just whatever. And I just say that to, but he's like, he goes, did you see Zach Burge's videos?
Were you like, shut up, Bill?
Yeah, bro. Why? He goes, throwing a damn buzzbait around like it was nothing. like, yeah. Did you do that, Bill? He's like, no, I had too good of a jig bite going on. I said, yeah, me too. But guess what? My shit disappeared. But dude, it's just
it is what it is.
Bass fishing is such a people that aren't involved in it and look at it from an outside perspective, they don't understand. And people that, man, I'm where I am because it's what I love. It's it's without trying to, I don't want to end this show yet, but it's just it's something that it's so, even at its worst, it's the most rewarding thing in the world.
Absolutely.
And I like for Lake Norman, man, and I don't want this to say, I'm going down there because my two best finishes last year when I stayed completely alone. I had like a 40th and a 50 something at Pickwick, I think, and I stayed alone. I didn't talk to anyone, and I just did my thing. And that's my big. That's the biggest crutch because I like to talk, and
sure,
sometimes it gets me into trouble, and sometimes it gets in my head. Well, most of the time it gets in my head. And I even let the shit that I don't even care about, like I let the people that I'm like, I don't care how I catch them because I don't fish that way. Or like the dog talk. Dude, let me tell you something worse than a dog talk the morning of a tournament. It's the dog talk from dinner to bed at home.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
The amount of arguments I've been in the last year with guys over nothing, like, or just the back and forth, or the, just like, dude, I don't need it. Like, and I really wish a lot more people were this honest about it. And I think the people that are honest about it are people that don't talk about it because they don't room with anybody. Like, know that they're not part of this kind of stuff because they
Bill Lone doesn't room with anybody, does he?
No, he takes his family with him and he lives his life. And dude, let me tell you something about Bill. And I learned this because I had dinner with him in West Logan at Santee at their camper. Like I hired Bill's daughter to do some of my photography stuff. You don't talk fishing when you're off the water. That's the job, bro. Like your practice day starts at daylight and you get home at dark, and then your family's there.
Yeah.
Like, and that's where I think a lot of people should be, because some guys are mentally strong enough to not care or just put it in one ear and let it go out the other, or bottle it up and even use it against the guy they heard it from in the tournament. But you would never know. Some guys are like me, and then I start dissecting what people are saying.
Yeah. Overanalyzing everything.
Yeah. And then next thing I know, I'm trying to fish somebody else's game. And I'm like, and it's like, because what happens is by noon, when you don't have 15 or 20 pounds in a boat, you're going, they're not here.
You're freaking out.
But I remember so-and-so's telling me he was catching them on the edge of the grass doing this when the sun got up, like just random stuff. And you're like, okay, well, let's go do that. Let's go do this. Then you don't do it. And then now it's 1:30, 2 o'clock and you're scattered. Maybe my fish turned on back where I started. Now next thing you know, you've wasted 2 hours driving around and your whole tournament's blown. And you're like, why did I spend $9,000 coming down here and paying an entry fee? And now what are you doing? And that's the thing people don't talk about. They don't want to share. They don't want to make themselves look stupid by telling how they didn't execute right. And execution at this level is 100% everything. It's everything. Yeah. Because you might have a bad practice, but if you execute what's in front of you and you buckle down and just fish, you're 9 times out of 10, you're going to either figure them out or you're going to learn what not to do, but you didn't waste your time.
Right.
Let me ask you. Well, first of all, I'll make this statement. One of the most social, recreational things in the world is fishing. Like social, like it's a social activity. Guys and gals get together, they break bread, they drink beer, they drink whatever, they have a conversation. On the competitive side of what Dylan is talking about, we love to talk and be social, but it's almost like you need to force yourself to be antisocial. right?
I really believe
in room by yourself, right? Because fishing competitively is vastly different than fishing recreationally. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
It's cutthroat, man. It really is.
It is, man. And to me, I think I learn a lot about myself. I think we all do. We learn a lot about ourselves when we're rooming with people and when we're having conversations and stuff, like how easily our minds can get wrapped around like something so small, right? Like they're biting on rock. And then that's the only thing you're looking for. And I'm kind of using what we endured last weekend, but still, like, it's so amazing to me how like we convince ourselves like, oh, no one else can influence our strategy. We write our own playbooks. And then the next thing you know it, 1:30, 2 o'clock rolls around. And you're like, dude, somebody's catching them on a buzzbait. I better run that pattern. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy to me.
Absolutely. And like, that's what I said. I think like I said at Logan Martin, and then we didn't get into Pickwick, but like I was just doing me at Pickwick last year. And that, like I said, those are my two best tournaments because I didn't get it. I didn't even listen or talk to anyone about how they were catching them. And I knew when I got to Pickwick, I had a plan to try and go out and fish ledges. But guess what? That tournament wasn't a ledge tournament. If you go back and look and watch, you're like, no one knew why the hell they were where they were, but they found them shallow. Like, I was doing the same thing I do here on any of these lakes around Cincinnati. I was literally taking a jig and going and flipping big main lake bluff laydowns. Like, and I knew that I could, if I did it all day long, I'd get 5 bites. Well, every single day of that tournament, I had 25 pounds worth of bites every day. And that's another tournament I look back on and I'm like, I would lose them I think they'd be in like 15-foot deep trees, and you'd have to let it get all the way down there. And you're talking about 5 and 6 pound smallmouth, and then the next thing you know, you set the hook on them, and they're wrapped up 15 feet under the boat in a laydown, and you can't get them out. And you can literally see them; they'll come up 6 foot and swim around. And you can't get them out. There was a point where I stuck the rod between my legs, got on my knees, and bear hugged. I'm a pretty big guy. I bear hugged about a 8-inch diameter branch of this tree that my line was wrapped around down the water, and I was trying to snap it because I had like a 6-pounder on the other end. And
oh wow,
you trying to break it and bring the whole limb up with you?
I'm literally watching him swim around and stop and just sit there with my jig floating in the corner of his mouth. And
you didn't want to jump in and go swimming?
I couldn't reach my line because my line was underneath. He had got me tangled up to where I couldn't see my line. I just knew it was tangled around the base of this split. But I mean, that happened a couple times. And then I was flipping like a little Kitech, flipping the little tungsten Kitech jig, and that thing's got a hook on it the size of your pinky. And it's like, they dump it so easy. And but I couldn't get them to eat in a different jig. Like they wanted that one. And it just sucked. Like it was just one of the things where you have the bites to really make a run at it, and that's why I don't get myself so bent out of shape when I get my butt kicked. Now it's like I've had 2 or 3 tournaments to where I felt like I just didn't capitalize and I didn't execute right. So like to me, out of the 7 I fished, I've been on, in my own mind, I've been on potential top 10 fish in every single, and 3 of the 7 events I've been in. Well, that to me says something. I just got to change something somewhere. I got to figure something out. And I'm sure there's a lot of guys in the field that have had this kind of stuff happen. So like, maybe I'm no different than anybody else. I'm not saying I am. It's just, at some point in this game, or hopefully the tides are going to turn and I'm going to execute right. Things are going to go my way. And it's just, you've got my daughter just turned 6 and my son will be 4 Friday this week. So it's like, it's just tough. You're trying to, and getting back to your question, you're trying to make people happy. You're trying to make people proud. And it's just one of the things you just got to bear down. And in the back of your head, it's always going to be, do you give it up Do you stop? When's things going to change? Are you good enough? All those things. And I'm strong enough person where I'm like, hey, dude, if it don't work, you got work to come back to. You got a business.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? But at the same time, it's like, I don't want those thoughts because I don't want to ever quit. Like,
Sure.
like we said in part one, I'm either gonna do what I set out to do, or I'm gonna die trying. As dumb as that sounds, because we're only bass fishing. Like, I'm gonna die by the time, even if I don't win, I'll die by the time I get there.
Well, if you break your ankle on the front of the boat, like something else may happen. But listen, I want to ask you this. So, I mean, dude, like, we're our own worst critics, right? But I think we're our own best critics, and you're the only one that defines what success looks like, right? You got guys that have done fished on the elites for forever. I mean, heck, Bernie Schultz, he's never even won a tournament. He's cashed checks, obviously. It depends on what you want to do, but at the end of the day, like, I'm glad you said what you said. Oh, I have a job to fall back on. Well, yeah, I mean, that is your primary means of putting food on the table anyways, man. Like, a couple of years ago, we were at the fishing show and I saw a young kid there, and he goes, I said, what are you going to do when you grow up? He goes, I'll fish a Bassmaster Elite Series. Yeah. I said, well, what are you going to do for money? He goes, I'm going to fish a Bassmaster Elites. And if he's
story about that kid.
Funny story about this kid.
He's dating your daughter.
Yeah, he's dating my daughter right now. So if he's listening to this, you better figure out a backup plan because you're listening to Dylan talk about it right now. But here's the thing, man.
I'm always hiring concrete guys, man. If he wants to come up to
exactly. There you go. There you go, kid. I won't name his name. There you go, kid. You can go pour some concrete. But I wanted to ask you about the end of your 2024 season and getting, how were you deciding if you were going to roll into 2025? What did those conversations look like?
Oh, there weren't any. It was
no.
Yeah, you knew you were going to fish it.
Yeah, dude. I was like, because I guess I was more worried. My question was, I knew I was going to fish it. It was, are we going to buckle down and spend the entire winter in the South live scoping? Or am I going to get lucky enough to be able to, I don't know if it's lucky now looking at the names that came, but are you gonna, and then when the decision came out, it was okay, cool. We don't have to deal with this garbage anymore. But now I kind of turned, I was like, okay, I'm 100% I'm fishing it. So now I'm trying to recruit my buddies. I'm like, hey dude, this is the year to get in this. And this is where I want to give all the praise in the world for the league.
Mm-hmm.
No one, if you haven't been to a league event or you haven't sat in a meeting, it's almost impossible to explain the atmosphere, the morale, the even the love, of the competition that you're surrounded by. Like, dude, it's so surreal to be part of this group. And it's like when I saw the names that were coming, and I had talked to Bill, and I knew Bill was thinking about it. And you sit around and it's like, yeah, the opens, a lot of these guys fish the opens, and anybody can fish the opens. Like, anybody can fish here. But like, when you sit in that room and you talk to these guys and you see them around, and everyone's just happy to be there because they're away from all the garbage that they have to deal with everywhere else with live scope. Talk to Brad Fuller. I've had very few conversations with Brad, usually in passing, or Brad is focused, man, and on the biggest prize of at the end of the day is he wants this league to be successful. And obviously it's hard to make it very successful with guys like myself who aren't 100% out there. Everybody knows I'm not a household name. Like, you got to earn that, right? But you're not going to. You can't. You have to grow with what comes with you, and I think the Elite Series guys that came and there's so much there. The potential that when no live scope was announced, I said I would be the dumbest human being on earth that if I financially could afford to keep doing this, to leave. And it went back to like I told you when we started this episode. You don't know when you're going to get that opportunity again. Well, dude, like I didn't know if I thought, we didn't fill the field this year, which was kind of surprising to me. And I think it's hard to get 130 guys to dump $30,000. But like it's at that being said, like there's, I don't know, I'm trying to be able to be here in this field with these guys, the guys that are here, and to compete against them with no live scope. There's more eyes on the NPFL this year than any other league in bass fishing. And I really think that the NPFL has got the potential to completely take over bass fishing as a whole with a few of the right steps, get a couple of the non-endemic backing, get the payouts right. Like, and that's why I stayed and said, I'm going to keep doing this, because you never know what day it's going to change and you'll never get back in. And next thing you know, in a couple of years, it's the Elite Series. Like it could be that very fast.
I think I'm not going to say I agree with you on the fact that the NPFL could take over bass fishing. What I will say is I think the NPFL will find themselves a firm hold in the bass fishing industry, right? I don't think it was ever the NPFL and Brad and Mike and Kathy and all their intent to take over bass fishing.
I said take over. I didn't mean that. I just
I know. But they are strong in their beliefs, and they believe that they have a place in this industry, and they're a very unique organization that they can do that, right? To me, I was an FLW guy, right? I was later in bass fishing compared to these guys. But I wasn't a BASS guy. I was an FLW guy. I loved watching them. I liked their format. I loved how they competed with co-anglers in their boats, and then they got rid of them after day 2 and blah, 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 blah. Very family-oriented Forest Elwood environment, and that's what the NPFL reminds me of. And I think they are solidifying their spot in this professional industry, right? I think it's only up from here. And I think you're right. If you're not there, and even our good buddy Seth Ellis and several others talked about it, it's like, dude, if I'm not in it, I could miss out on the fact that it's going to grow exponentially. Yeah. And so I totally agree with you. Like, hey, there was no conversation about 2024 to 2025. It was, I'm fishing this no matter what. Right. Yeah. So on that note, did you get, I mean, obviously you're a business owner, your father's a business owner. During the 2024 to 2025 off season, were you hunting down sponsorships? Were you expanding that horizon a little bit to try to get more people on board with your journey?
Yeah, we tried, and that's a big part of it. Is, it's really hard to find somebody. That's the hardest part of all of this. Is
Dylan, kids need to hear this, so just be honest with it. Be honest about this. Like this is something that kids need to hear.
So, yeah, we're just going to be 100% honest. So, if you plan on having a family, if you want to do anything, if you want to be, God, how do you start this? This is really tough to dig into, because I don't want to start it by sounding like an idiot.
Well, I mean, it's your opinion. So
my opinion is that if you want to be successful in life, I'm not saying bass fishing, because that's an aspect of life. If you want to be successful in life and support your children, and I'm not talking about just like, getting by and just living your dream. But if you want to be highly successful or be able to afford to do this without anyone else, You need to focus on getting those ducks in a row before you dive into committing your entire life and your future to bass fishing. And I know that's going to sound really hard for a 15 to an 18-year-old kid right now, and I'm kind of glad, like I said, everything that happened that we talked about in the first episode, because, man, had I not done that, I wouldn't have my kids. None of that would exist probably. And I'd have wasted a very valuable portion of my life, which I'd wasted honestly anyway. But it brought me to where I'm at now. But I don't think that if you want to have children and start a family, it's very hard to do that unless you have the financial backing to pursue this. If you don't have the financial backing, or on mom and dad's money, or you are fortunate enough to have an in somewhere with a major corporation or have a family tie, which a lot people don't know. A lot of these guys have ins that they don't talk about, or they know somebody. Like, how the hell did that guy get that sponsor? I couldn't even get a phone number to call. Well, guess what? JoJo's uncle, his wife's best friend is CEO. Like that's how a lot of that stuff goes down. And that's the truth. Like, people don't talk about that. And like, yeah, dude, I tried to get Ohio Cat. My wife is a parts specialist and representative for Ohio Cat here in Cincinnati. I tried like hell, but I wasn't going to risk her job. I reached out to a lumber manufacturer that's nationwide that I thought I was really going to be able to pull some money from. He crashed and burned. Like, there's a lot of people that I reached out to, and I think the media package and presenting yourself right is huge to it. And I think that's where I kind of went wrong with certain like potential endorsements, is like I didn't pursue them correctly, and we'll try it again next year. But I'm at the point to where it's like, as long as my bills are paid and my kids are having a good life and I can have the things I want outside of bass fishing, dude, like,
do it.
Yeah. And that took 10 years that took more than 10 years of me and my dad. I mean, going at it, bro. Like, hugs, tears, cries, MFers, like a lot of pain and suffering, dude. To be able to, just a lot of hard times, man, to be able to be where I'm at now, and fortunate enough to where I got the chance to stay where I was at, to do what I'm doing now. And not everybody's that fortunate either. So I guess my words to a kid looking into it, and social media is a big aspect of it now too, man. Like, you can make so much money. I mean, look at Ben Milliken, dude. Dude's killing it on YouTube. You killed it on YouTube for years. Makes awesome money. I think he owns part of 6 Cents now, right? Like, I think he's majority owner now. Yeah, and he made a big splash last year in the Elite Series, and it's like, not everybody can be Kevin Van Dam. You know how like I'm very fun to talk to. I like cutting up, man. I like entertainment. I like entertaining. But not everybody's Gerald Swindle. You got to have a look to go along with the words sometimes, and some people are just cut from that cloth, and it's hard to. I remember one time, my mom, like you said earlier, I want to be a pro bass fisherman. I remember being a kid, and a guy that ran one of the federations in Ohio, the youth, told my mom and dad that it's like the percentage of possibility, no matter how good a kid is, to make it to that level is like, you better just be willing to go bankrupt. And I remember I remember hearing him say that. And I remember being 16, wanting to jump out of my damn boat and choke slam this guy at the time. And that's just being honest. Like, I've always wore my heart on my sleeve, and I'm like, man, why would you say that to my mom and dad? Right. Like, and now I look at it now and I'm like, oh.
He was just being real.
Yeah, he's being real.
I get it. He was being real, and he was trying to because they didn't know anything about bass fishing really. They thought what they saw on ESPN too on Saturday mornings was what you got with G and Skeet and Ike and Toyota, like all this stuff. And he was right, but at the same time, you don't want to just piss on somebody's dreams either, and I'll never do that.
Yeah.
You have to. It's expectation management. You have to set realistic expectations. I think too. We were all raised in a generation where we were told we can do whatever we want as long as we work hard, and that's not necessarily the truth. Like, just because you work hard does not mean you're going to do exactly what you want to do in life.
No,
I could have worked as hard as I wanted to be, and I ain't smart enough to be a rocket scientist. Like, if that's what I wanted to do, I don't have the brains. I'm not good at math. I never would have been. Same with bass fishing. You can work as hard as you want, but if the breaks don't go your way, you're not going to get those deals from sponsors. The opportunities aren't going to present themselves. And
right.
I think you said Milliken's like a great example. He got into the YouTube game at the right time, right place, right time. He put content out that people liked. He built his empire, his social media empire, before he even thought about fishing tournaments.
Right.
Professionally, I think he was fishing local stuff because he had some videos, but you have to, I think it's a great point you brought. Like, you have to build some type of financial safety net before you chase this, because not everybody does. And you hear people talk about all the time, when we had John Cruz on, he talked about guys he knows that are on their third and fourth bankruptcy and done sold everything they had 7 times to try to finance chasing this dream. And
we talked,
I'm not willing to do either.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, you don't want to risk your financial future there is some parts I admire that just you go for broke and go all in multiple times until hopefully it works. But, as we're talking about like how hard it is to become a professional bass angler. I mean, if you take just the elites, BPT and as NPFL, like what does 300 slots? 300.
Less than
for the best anglers in the world, right? Because we got Japanese, Australians, right, on some of the tours, Canadians, obviously, and there's something like 40 million fishermen out there.
Yeah.
Not everyone tournament fishing, not
less than 1% of the 1%.
But it's in the problem with bass fishing is we all know the household names, right? They were just built different. They read the water different. That is, God just put them on the earth for them to be able to do that. That's why they are who they are. But what I think is difficult for like all of us could envision us doing this. Every young kid can, right? It's fishing.
Oh, dude.
Like it's right. It's not how big you are or how fast you are or how, we all think we can go out there and, skip a jig for 30 pounds. And
that's the thing, dude.
And we all can.
And we can.
But to do it consistently as a whole.
Dylan talked about it, right? Like how many, and you too, Ben, I know all of us, we'll go out there and we'll get our butts handed to us in a tournament. It could be a 1 day, could be a 2 day, could be a 3 day, could be a 4 day. And you're asking yourself the whole time, like, dude, do I really know how to? I know how to catch fish.
Yeah.
I know how to do this. I know how to do all these things. But for some odd reason, I get my butt whooped.
Well,
but that doesn't make you. Go ahead.
I think the thing that separates the ones that are consistent from the guys that don't capitalize, like that are in that position, like you just said, there's something. I hate saying this, but there is a difference there. There's something different up here that these guys that clicks that even the good of the better than average still don't. Like it's like the hidden. It's like in Hollywood. Did you sell your soul to the devil to get the millions? Like what the hell goes on in your head, or how do you know at the right time, consistently, week in and week out, what to do?
Sure.
Like that's the question I have, because it's like, man, you look back on Kevin Van Dam, right? And I was not a Kevin Van Dam fan my entire youth because I got sick of seeing him win. I'm like, anybody can go out there and throw a 3 or 5 XD or a damn spinnerbait day in, day out, fish it hard, and just if you just wear and burn and get just run and gun and chuck and wind, you're going to run into him eventually. Because that's all you saw, right? That's all you saw him do. And you're like, how the hell is this guy the best in the world when he's not even doing anything that looks like he is coercing these fish to bite? It doesn't look like he just makes it look so easy. What is going on? And then you look back at, man, he didn't even have side imaging or live scope at the time. And I'm like, what was so different? What did that guy have in his head that made him so much more than the next guy in line? And I give up on luck. I give up on luck as the answer. And I don't know what the answer is there. And I'm sure a lot of people sit around and go, what the hell?
That's a great point you bring up. You know, Gerald, Van Dam, the list of that generation goes on and on. Yeah. And I'm not going to say that they grew up in the easiest time in bass fishing, but they definitely grew up in the best time.
They grew up
competitive
in the
bass fishing.
All too.
Because you saw techniques during that time.
That helped.
Yeah. You saw certain techniques during that time frame, whether that be a jerk bait, a crankbait, a jig, or a spinner bait.
Yeah.
You really saw them dominate.
Yeah.
You, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I think right now, let's go ahead and maybe 1 year ago when they made them start fishing all 9 of the opens, I think this is the hardest time ever to compete in bass fishing. This is the hardest time to find somebody that truly has something special outside of John Cox, just being able to fish shallow everywhere. I don't understand it, but everyone's skill set is so close together now because Pete talked about this 2 years ago. The learning curve is so much smaller in bass fishing. It's just so much smaller because the access to information, the access to YouTube, the access to tackle and all that stuff, like it's just there. It's readily. And parents these days are just buying their kids top of the notch, like bass boats and forward facing sonar technology and rods and reels and everything else. I just feel like it's so hard to win a tournament anymore because the learning curve is so much smaller, where 10 years ago, you may be, I'm the best at flipping a jig, or I'm the best at throwing a spinner bait, and you're not going to beat me in the pre-spawn, right? I just feel like those days are over, man. I don't know about your guys' opinion, but I just feel like those days are over. I don't know. What do you guys think? Think they're over?
No.
You don't think so? I think they're well over.
No, I don't think they're over.
I don't think they're over. NPFL.
You've got to look at the way they schedule tournaments. You've got to look at time of the year, things like that. You might have one-offs like Tyler Veteran winning with a jerk bait. But if you fish that tournament every year for 5 years in a row, that's probably only going to happen one time, 1 out of 5. Somebody's going to fish it when it's shallow because they're going to find the right fish shallow. And also you have to remember one more second. Yeah. You have to remember, like, everybody gives these kids a bad rap. These kids that are now calling for the elites didn't have live scope when they were fishing in high school and stuff.
I'm not saying anything about
these kids. Scope. Oh, I know. But like their learning curve, a lot of these kids, yes, the learning curve was less because of technology or because of like YouTube and stuff. But it doesn't take away the fact that they're good they're getting better younger. But Trey McKinney is just as good at 18 as Jamie Hartman was at 40. It just didn't take him to get to 40 to get all that information because he had YouTube. He had that. I don't think the days of being a good angler are done.
I didn't say that either.
No, I know, but I don't think anything's changed just because the only thing that's changed is people pinging him in a.
Pete, do you think that Trey McKinney qualifies for the Elite Series without live scope?
100%. He won 7 boats without live scope, winning BFL regionals.
Absolutely,
100%.
My question is here's where I want you to think about it. Do you think you don't think there was 20 or 30 guys better at seasonal pattern fishing, old school way, better than him that would have probably beaten him into points?
No, I don't, because of the information access via YouTube. He had a mentor that was a professional angler that fished the elite. Like, that's not a great example because he had the ability to get that knowledge because of the people that were around him. Now let's take, I don't want to throw names out there. There's another guy that qualified last year.
I just think the big thing is
that I would fully agree with you. Like, there is another guy that qualified, and it's not Milliken because he was making videos. Yeah. I'm not going to throw names out there, but there's another guy that qualified last year with McKinney and everybody that absolutely would not have qualified without forward face sonar. There's guys fishing the BPT that absolutely would not be there without forward-facing sonar.
100%.
There are those one-offs, but there's also still a lot of people that can do the seasonal thing.
I know
that I don't think
very good fisherman.
Yeah, and I don't think as many as the guys that are there now that can't go do the old school thing. I just think that where you're going, Trey, is the technology thing has opened up different ways to fish.
I just think it's harder to win a tournament now than it ever has been before.
I would agree with Trey in some ways in that, because I think the big thing has changed. It's something that still holds true. We've always talked. It's about time on the water.
Yeah,
it is.
There's a lot more people fishing,
and
a lot of these young kids. I mean, there weren't even high school tournaments like back when I was in high school 20 years ago.
No,
I mean, so these guys are just on the water and they're doing a whole lot more than
we ever did.
Than we ever did at our age, right? So
here's
and then
I
constant
want to ask you this.
information.
Do you think that so you look at a list of anglers that were in the NPFL last year.
Yep.
And you look at the list of guys who are in it this year.
Yep.
The guys that left, what do they have in common?
Well, I know why they left. I mean,
so is there a mental thing there to where they don't think they can compete without it, or is it because
there's probably absolutely. I think there's probably both sides of that. There's some that I believe don't think they can compete without it, and there's some that don't want to compete without it because this technology is available and they want to use it because they feel they're really good with it and it gives them an advantage. But I don't think that they don't feel they can compete without it.
Do you think, so you're right, but why would you go and fish? I shouldn't say this because this is going to, why fish for less money, more tournaments, the same entry fees, more tournaments, less money. So over the year, same amount of money, you're willing to win less money. If you can stay and still compete, why wouldn't you fish for $100,000?
For certain people, it's about having that Bassmaster Elite patch on their shoulder of their jersey. I can 100% confirm some of those guys left because that is their ultimate goal, right? And it's a hard road to get to, and maybe for some of them, I know they felt it was the right time to make the jump. Some of that was because the forward facing going away. Some of it was because of the changes where they went to only having to fish 3 to qualify for the elite.
And some of it was because they have fished the NPFL for a couple of years.
Yeah,
have kind of done this.
And some of it was because sponsors.
Too,
yeah. But I mean the ones that completely jump trails. Here's what I want to say. If you win against this NPFL field, or if you you cash a check, you finish 38th or better. I would be willing to say that if you take the names across the board and from here to the opens to the EQs, everyone would say they would rather have on their resume that they beat this field and top 20 this field than any open tournament in probably the last decade. Look at the names in this field and look at how you have to beat them now. And that's, to me, that was like, why the hell would I go fish the opens when I get if I'm going to get my teeth kicked in, I'm going to get them kicked in regardless. I get what you're saying. And the one counter I'll make to Trey's point that it's harder now to win a tournament than it's ever been is you can name some names. You named them earlier. Bernie Schultz, Gerald Swindle, Steve Kennedy's only won one. There's guys that have been doing it for a very, very long time that have never won a blue trophy because it's always been at that level. It's always been extremely difficult. Yeah. The shift now is there's more of a youth movement, not because of forward facing, because we don't blame it all on that, but because of the information available now, like Trey McKinney, his parents knew he needed a mentor. He had YouTube. He had he was building industry contacts and garnering knowledge from people by asking the questions that wasn't available to everybody coming up. So I think I misinterpreted what you were trying to say, Trey. The opens, the BFLs, the Toyotas, the Invitationals, I think it is harder now.
Club derbies.
Some clubs. Yeah. Some of them for sure. I think it is harder now to win than it was 10 years ago. Absolutely. Once you get to the elite level, the NPFL, the BPT, I think it's always been that difficult because those truly are the best in the world.
I guess I wonder if when not because I'm part of it, but it's like at one point does the industry as a whole give the NPFL their flowers?
It's coming.
Yeah, it's aggravating to see from like if you just sit back and look at it, and it's just aggravating to see how consistent the opens are. Oh man, these guys are top notch, and because it's on Fox and Fox Sports Net, and like it's like, dude.
Do you want to know why there's a delay in the NPFL being handed their flowers? And I'll tell you exactly why. Because the split, and everybody knows what I'm referring to, the split when MLF and Bass split,
the great
split, whatever you want to call it, there was a lot of bad blood. It divided the fan base.
Oh, absolutely.
And now, like that, those wounds are still fresh. So now you have this other entity coming in who has no intention. Now, MLF they were very vocal. They were coming for Bass.
Yeah.
The league has never said they have any intention of attempting to go for Bass or the MLF. But consumers just see this league that comes along with $100,000 payouts. Elite guys are fishing it. They think it's just pay to play. They don't understand the process to get in. It's not just, hey, here's my money, I'm in. Like there is an application, an interview. There's other things that you have to do. So that the wounds of that are going to make it be slow to be recognized. But the changes they've made, one is, getting rid of the forward facing, doing something completely different. Agree or not with what they did something different.
Yeah, they had to. Yeah.
You've got people to help with brand recognition, more people, your Swindles, your Hackneys, the guys that have come over from the elites, not to take anything away from your grassroots NPFL anglers, but those guys have been around. And they have sway in the industry. People, they have followers. It brings more eyes to the league. So I don't know if it'll be this year. I do feel like it'll be this year. I think after this season,
if anybody that was at Santee Cooper, dude, it was so much different than anything I witnessed last year. And I know there was a lot of local guys there, but there was food trucks. They had a band, like Strike King backing was a big thing there, and like. It was just there was a lot of fans every day. Like the last day, there was like I don't even know how many people there. It was crazy. I felt like I was in an elite series tournament on a Sunday. Like there was just so many people.
That's
there.
Awesome, and that's what they needed.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know
there were guys to push this league to you need them to get over the hump.
Yeah, and it's just about getting brand recognition.
Here's the reality too. This is my opinion. This is coming from other people that we're friends with in the industry. There's a lot of politics, right?
Yeah.
In the fishing industry, as small as it may be, these big companies, these CEOs, right? Yep. There's a lot of lobbying.
A ton.
It's no different than American.
It's corporate America, period.
Corporate America, And so once a few guys sit around with a couple glasses of bourbon, have a conversation about where money needs to be directed, that's where it's going to get.
And the funny thing is, it's corporate America with a target audience of probably less than 5% of Americans.
Yeah.
Whereas most of corporate America has a target audience 80%, maybe, depending on the market they're in.
Yeah.
It's a very small segment of America.
What I would love to see, we're going off on a tangent here. What I would love to see is I'd love to see the NPFL, the BPT, and the Bassmaster Elite Series go head to head, where you take the top 20% of each league and you go head to head in a derby, right? Where you have this big trifecta, this just of tribal dynamics between these three leagues, just battle it out for who truly is the best of the best of the best.
And we know,
right?
We know that's been pitched.
Oh, it has been pitched.
I wonder if you'll ever get that. That's such a hard answer. Like, I don't know how they could, because, everybody in their own opinion is going to say that they're the best. It's really hard to ask, because how do you prove it? Like,
is it because we have the World Cup, right? We literally
they have a World Bass Fishing Championship.
That's what I'm saying. The World Bass Fishing Championship.
Bring them all together for one derby, and who the winner is who gets their flowers that year.
Team derby.
Yeah, it's a big team
it's
derby.
It's 4 teams from each league battling it out.
Yep.
Yeah, so like that would be cool. Like here's how they should do it. You just take the top 20 in points from each one, and then you take your winners from each.
Yep.
I think you take your winners too. So if that's 9, how many BPTs are there? 8 this year. So 9, 8, 17, and then you got 6 of ours. So you got 23 winners, and then you're gonna have double qualifications through points. So obviously you'd probably have somewhere around 80 guys in a tournament.
And if you fish 2 of them, you have to pick one. Mm-hmm. And whoever you pick, the other one bans you for life.
Yeah, well, maybe. But if you do that, how do you do the format too? Because then, do you do it MLF format? Do you do a day of each?
I'll tell you how you do it. You do it just like they used to do the Bassmaster Classic. You tell everybody they get 5 rods and 15 pounds of tackle.
Yep.
You get boats done. You get boats from one of your sponsors that are all identical. No forward-facing sonar. You tell everybody to be at this private airport at this time. You put them on a plane, and when you get at 15,000 feet, you go, boys, we're going to. Here's the lake, and you show up there, and they go fishing.
I'm not gonna name drop, but there would still be one guy in that field that would still get the damn information.
Does he fish for the MLF?
He fishes with a big old blue ugly ass junk stick. I don't care. Wait, we're gonna have to edit that out, ain't we?
No, that's staying for sure.
Nobody knows who.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Everybody knows, but nobody knows.
Good.
I love it. I know what you're saying. Yeah, people would still figure it out, but I mean, you'd have to do it almost like the original MLF. Where they just told them, come to X state. We're not going to tell you what lake you're fishing.
Yeah, the cup.
And then the morning, the old Cup Series. And then the morning of, you go, we're going to lake. Here you go. Go launch. Good luck, boys.
NPFL would be the only league in there that wasn't like, hey, how much money are we going to get for this?
Oh, I know. And I know there's been conversations about cross. There's been conversations about cross league competition. And that ultimately has been the hang up every single time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that, and that we just said, you just throw them on a plane and go. And like, dude, I know I don't want to really like get into it, but all the stuff that's been going on this year with the no information stuff, it's like, if you're around it enough, I hate to say this. This is sounding like such a negative podcast, but like, dude, it's
we had way more negative. Trust me.
Dude, this is just a reality of bass fishing, and people are going to be like, "You're an idiot," or "Glad you said that."
We've had people come on here and straight tell people don't pick bass fishing as a career, and they're doing bass fishing.
So many people get information, bro.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt it.
And I don't know, like I don't know names. Like Brad's gonna call me like, who the hell is getting information? But like, dude, across all boards,
what's happening.
From being at the boat dealerships, being at trade shows, the things you hear where there's no way that was a lie because where it come from and who said it, and
there's a loophole in all of those rules, and I'm going to put it out there so maybe it'll get closed, and I don't care. Every single rule, I guess that's the best way to say that. No information rule states you cannot solicit information. It doesn't say Johnny at the trade show at the next booth talking about the lake that I'm going to in 6 months and I overhear it is gathering information. It says you cannot.
I'm not even talking about it being that simple. I mean, I think there's tons of guys who know how to thread that line to where they can get information.
I just threaded it right there.
If I leave my power on my boat at night and I wake up to 77 new yellow dots on my graph, I don't know where those
let me ask you something, Dylan.
I don't think they're that even careful. I think there's guys that blatantly get information day in and day out.
I'm sure there is.
And they do it good enough to where they say, I can find, as long as no one knows, and I trust the guy I'm getting it from, and he doesn't say anything. As long as I don't win this sumbitch, I'm good. Yeah. And I know there's guys that do it.
Because the trends in the way that they do the lie detector tests, like they show you, right? Like we're only going to poly the top 2 or top 5, right?
Well, the bigger one, like the bass and VPT, it's not even guaranteed you're going to get polygraphed if you win. They do completely random. Now, if there is a question raised, like was it Corey?
Yeah.
Was it Corey that won last year? And there's some question around that one fish being hooked outside the mouth, right?
Oh yeah,
he won and got polygraphed because there was questions about that whole situation. Clearly, he passed.
He passed, even though we all had visual evidence.
It is what it is.
Well, was he sight fishing or was he looking at the scope?
So we're not going to get back into that again.
Or you could be like MLF and be like, hey, as long as you tell the truth, I don't care if you lied.
We've heard that before, too.
That'll be the thumbnail.
God, bro, like, hey, I told you guys to start this. I'm an open book, bro. I don't care.
You're good, man. It's not anything that hasn't been discussed before, but I'm with you. Like anytime there's money involved, and there's competition involved, there's going to be people that break the rules. You like to think, because I know me personally, I'm very, what's the word I'm looking for? You called me it earlier.
A prude?
No, not a prude, but I'm like, my reputation means a lot to me, so I'm not going to risk that by violating a rule.
Well, here's my
knowingly.
Problem. It's like I'm so loud and out there that, like, dude, if I cheated, you're probably going to know it because I'm going to slip up and tell something.
I'm going to tell you,
and I would never do it.
So I'm like,
and I'd like to think that everybody competing would have that same level of professionalism or care about their reputation. I can't think of the word I'm thinking of. Reputation, whatever it is, that they wouldn't cheat. But that's not the reality. The reality is, if you're fishing against 180 guys,
somebody's cheating.
50% of them may be willing to cheat. Yeah.
And dude, and I hate saying that because I like so many of the guys that I know, and I feel like most of the guys that I talk to that I try and surround myself with or associate with are guys that don't. And that's probably why we keep getting our teeth kicked in, or we just suck.
Or
that's not your time yet.
There's a lot of guys. I mean, you can ask Bill this, ask him this offline, at some point, but ask Bill how much he really cares about what other people are doing.
Oh,
I feel like those guys that are so at peace with themselves and they're confident within their own abilities and they truly don't give a crap about what everyone else is doing. I feel like those are the guys that when you hear that term, like when it's your time, it's your time. Mm-hmm. I feel like those are the guys that, like, when it is really their time, it's their time.
Dude,
right? There might be some people that may be able to cheat themselves to victory, but they're never at peace with themselves. And then there's those that are truly at peace with their abilities, and they're so confident that they end up taking home a victory.
Dude, look at how long it took Bill to win one. What, 15?
Sure. I remember his very first victory. Was that like 3 years ago on the Tennessee River?
21 at no. 20. Yeah, it was Pickwick 21.
Yeah, it was Pickwick.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that was amazing, dude, watching that.
Yeah. And it was like, and then it's like you said, when it's your time, it's your time. He came off his best or worst season ever. The guy's notorious for only missing like a check a year, if that.
And he did it his way. He flipped a jig into laydowns and docks.
Yeah.
And then it was beautiful.
Then he finishes 80-something points and goes out and just curb stomp American History X style everybody, flipping a jig. Sorry.
Great movie. Great movie if you've never seen it. Great movie if you've never seen it. I mean, I don't agree with the thought of the movie. It's a great movie.
No, but like, in all honesty, it's like, dude, okay, this dude just – and because, dude, I watched it at home, and I'm like, dude, I remember when John Garrett weighed in the second day. He had like 30 pounds. A third day, he had like 30-something pounds. I'm like, the only dude that worried me in that tournament. And I'm like,
oh, on St. John's?
Yeah.
That
guy dude, looks like he's ready to just cut your head off.
John Garrett is built for bass fishing.
Yeah,
100%. Stone cold killer, bro.
We got to get him on this show. John Garrett he's cut from a different cloth, and he's older. He's not the kid that wears the clothes that all these young kids are wearing. He's just like that old. He's from Tennessee, isn't he?
I have no idea.
That old Tennessee. He's definitely
River guy.
Yeah, man. Like he just
blow out in the back of the hat.
Yeah, yeah. You don't have that going on. He's just like, I'm here. I'm gonna throw a big red worm when I need to throw a big red worm, but I'm also gonna scope when I need to. But I'm also gonna throw a deep plug on a break on the St. Johns River. Like, who the hell would have thought of that?
I don't know if he probably realized it after the fact, but that's the best thing that could have happened for Bill in that tournament when he threw that 5XD through that school of fish.
For sure,
it ruined the school.
Yep. Like, and he lost some key fish, dude. Yeah. He doesn't lose those fish, Bill doesn't win.
No. And that
you know what I mean? Meant to be.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's your time. And like, I think about, like I said at Pickwick, having multiple 5-pound bites a day that you don't even get in the boat, and you set the hook and it's just like woo, 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 and then it just breaks. Like, just ain't the time for it. Because it's 100%. Like, because I think back on it, like, you think, because I'm not a religious guy, but I'm a real firm believer. We talked about this in the last one. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you think God's going to give me a chance to come back in 3 events and win one of these son bitches? No. I didn't deserve that. Like these, and I say that sounds messed up, but like, why would he? Because like, there's people that have put their time in, and I have to deal with that now. Yeah. Now I got to go back to the drawing board and cut my teeth again. And now it's at a lot more expensive cost, but so be it. That's why I'm back here, and that
for sure.
And that's what because I thought about it. I'm like, well, what if you'd have caught every one of those? And you're trying to do the math. And it's like, well, you caught them enough to finish 60th. But
listen, man, it is so hard to learn from success. It's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard. I mean, you can learn, but it's so difficult. And that's why I said the other day, like when Pete and I got our butts absolutely whooped in a tournament, I said, there's no bad day of fishing. There's a bad day of tournament finishes. But at the end of the day, like, you learn so much more about what you didn't do than about what you did do.
I learned I'm never fishing Bugs Island again. No.
And I think that's important. I think you bring that to the table. And I think, you may have a decade where you have a break in your bass fishing tournament deals, but you're in a far better position. You have a stronger message that you can send to your children, to the youth that are out there talking about, like, this is my dream, right? You're like, hold on a minute. Think about what you really are going to fall back on if this takes a hard left on you.
So we're at just about 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
I want to get to wrapping this up. Because I know we could keep going all night on this stuff, and we're probably gonna have another episode here towards the end of the year. We can get a recap on your third or second season with the league. But if you had one message to deliver to those kids right now, what would it be?
Be yourself, 100%. Don't get caught up in YouTube. Get on YouTube, learn, get out on the water, because time on the water is everything, and it's everything. But if you're not in the financial position, or you don't have the support, set up a plan, figure out how you can get there, and I just, there's nothing you can't accomplish, especially in this industry, because if you put your head down and work hard enough outside of bass fishing, you can always fish. But I'm going to be honest, be prepared to sacrifice everything if it's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be harsh, but if you're an 18 or a 20-year-old kid that has a girlfriend that may be wanting to pursue, a life with down the road, you better have that conversation with that person, because it's hard to do both. Like, Bill Owen is the guy that is so hard to his family. He's in a position to where his family gets to come with him. They homeschooled their kids. They raise their kids great. That's a very hard thing to pull off. There's not a lot of people like that. Not a lot of families that that do what they do, what Jennifer is willing to do and be by Bill's side and homeschool their kids and take on the fight together. It doesn't happen that often. So just get yourself financially stable enough or find the backing before you it's a hard message to send. It is. Get yourself, think about what you want in life before you decide at 18. Think about what you're going to sacrifice. That's the message. Think about what you're willing to sacrifice in your life to pursue this dream, because it's a very, very, very seldomly is the dream. Do you meet that dream? And when I say that, I don't mean I'm living it, but the dream is to hold up a trophy, right? To be somebody in the industry. And it's very, very, there's a lot of us. There's a lot of people. It's hard. It's very hard. And it can pain.
So I think the message here, everyone listening to Dylan here, is do everything you can to make sure that your dream doesn't turn into a nightmare. Make sure that it's a solid foundation, that you're financially stable, that you have a backup plan, all those good things. And Dylan, I want you to hang out here for a minute. We're gonna wrap this show up, but we want to touch base with you at the end of 2025. We want to go through that second season, right? You guys have a very different schedule than you had last year. No forward-facing sonar, a lot of things like that. So we want to bring you back on at the end of the year to kind of wrap that up. But before we end this show, I don't think we did it the last show. Talk about those who support you the most, whether or not it's your own business or not. Like, who do you want to give a special shout out to, and where can they find those people at?
And your socials.
Yeah. My socials are Freeze Fishing on Instagram, freeze_fishing, Facebook, Dylan Freeze Fishing. I want to start by saying, if there's anybody out there that just needs some advice or going through some stuff at home that pursues this passion and is struggling, add me on my actual page, send me a message. I like talking to people. I want to give people a place to talk, and anything that you heard in the last 2 episodes, if there's something you come to on a common ground with, please reach out. Because that's who I think I want to be in this life nowadays, is somebody that helps other people get through struggles that I've done put myself and my family through. That being said, the sponsors that come on this year, ALX Rods out of South Carolina, Alex down there really helped me out this year. Bruiser Baits, Steve Dial out of Florida. He's really taking care of me. They just released an awesome new swim bait. It's called the Rampage. If you haven't seen it yet, go to bruiserbaits.com and check it out. It's something different. And then Sean Weeda at Weeda's Marine. He took a chance helping me out and getting me in the boat and dealing with me on the phone day in and day out for a year straight to get back to this point, helping me out when I wasn't happy, and really taking care of me in-house there at Weeda's Marine. They're the best in the business. I don't know very many people that have anything negative to say about Sean. I sure don't. And at the end of the day, the people that mean the most to me, that have done the most for me, is my mom, my father, and my fiance, Jessica. They've dealt with me in the worst times of my life. And if it wasn't for them, I would have never gotten back to this point in my life. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys. Just some Joe Schmo rambling about things he doesn't even have a clue about, to be honest with you.
That's what we do every week. It's fun.
I like to think I do, but it's they've taken a lot of beating from me over the years, and it's just something people don't really talk about. Everybody's got personal lives, and they're not willing to put them on the table, man. But it's part of who we are, and if I'm going to be out here fishing on a trail like this, with recognition behind me and being on that field and having people see my name or my pictures on the internet, I want people to know who the hell I am. And it's not always good. And I think that's a harsh reality for anybody out there that's looking up to their role models, or they see people that they look up to. I'm the nicest guy in the world, but I'm also very real. So, like, and I don't think that people get that enough from people in this industry. Who they see on YouTube and on social media isn't, and on weigh-in isn't who they meet in the parking lot. Well, every single person that watches this, if you see me in a weigh-in parking lot or at an NPFL dock, say what's up, because I love it, and I don't want to be like, oh man, that's that guy that I saw on the internet. Like, you know, if you think I'm a doofus, then fine. But like, you know, hey, I'm just a guy that's out here trying to pursue what I've always wanted to in my life. And if I didn't have the emotional and moral support from my family, you know, I would never be here. I probably wouldn't be breathing, you know? So, you know, guys, follow your dreams, you know, keep your head out of your ass. That's the biggest thing I can tell people. Follow your dreams, keep your head above water. And even at your darkest moments, there's always light. So, with that being said, I appreciate you guys having me on. I hope a lot of people get this message and see it, and don't think that, you know, bass fishing is all that it's cut out to be. But at the same time, I don't want to steer anyone away from chasing their dreams and possibly becoming the next Kevin Van Dam.
Those words were well spoken, Dylan. Kevin Van Dam's obviously from my hometown. I am no Kevin Van Dam. We definitely appreciate your time here. We're going to get you back on. Actually, it'd be pretty interesting. We might be able to get Jessica on too. Jessica's your awesome, fiance, man. You said?
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
We had Seth Ellis's wife and Josh Watkins' wife to provide their perspective. So maybe we'll do that in the future. But in the meantime, hang out, Dylan. We appreciate you having 2 different episodes with us and dropping some truth bombs. Gentlemen, do you guys got anything before we close this out? Dylan Freeze, National Professional Fishing League concrete expert, dropping truth bombs on you. Thank you for helping us continue to grow a culture of anglers helping anglers, one cast at a time.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh God, it's a toad, son. It's a fucking toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.